Hello, I'm Chris Bottger, and welcome back to another album review. Today, I'm going to be reviewing Bruce Springsteen's sixth studio album, 1982's Nebraska. For this album, the boss ditched the E Street Band for the first time and went for an all-acoustic sound. It is my understanding that the songs here were originally demos meant to be re-recorded by the whole band, but instead ended up being released as is. So there was no piano or saxophone here, much less drums or electric guitar. This is Nebraska's sound, and it's one of an acoustic guitar and an occasional harmonica, both played by Springsteen. So, is this new sound the future for Springsteen, or does it fall flat? I'll break the album down, song by song, before finally giving my thoughts and ranking of the album as a whole. I would like to encourage everyone to bear with my rambling and watch the whole video, as I do have a lot to say. Nebraska is a slow song in which a man confesses to going on a killing spree with his girlfriend. The vocal is dispassionate as the single is waiting on death row after having been found guilty. You would think a song about murder would be more faraway, but the real point of this song is that some people just kill for no reason. So I think Springsteen's vocal does a good job at reinforcing the meaning. Overall, this is a song that works well to introduce the acoustic nature of this album. On the flip side, there wasn't really anything memorable musically about it, so in the end, Nebraska is a song that works well as an album opener, but isn't a standout track in and of itself. Atlantic City is a song about a man and his girlfriend looking to turn their lives around in a declining and crime-ridden city. This is a very classic Springsteen song, following the theme of hope in dark times and inner-city struggle. This is a theme that has been prevalent throughout Bruce Springsteen's entire discography, with Atlantic City being yet another great entry with a great set of lyrics and the best chorus on this album. Despite this, I think Atlantic City would have benefited from full instrumentation from the E Street Band. Don't get me wrong, the song still works well in this acoustic setting, but I just think it would have been even better if it had gotten the full treatment. Mansion on the Hill is a song with a unique theme. It is a song about the single taking comfort in seeing a mansion on a hill. The single seems to take comfort in both the constant of the building itself, but also in seeing the continuing lives of the people who live in the mansion. It's a pretty good song, and it is rather unique in a way, so I quite like it. Johnny 99 is about a man's journey from poverty to crime, and food to the courtroom. It feels like the stuff of a blockbuster. The lyrics tell of an almost melodramatic scene at Johnny's sentencing, and as such, the song is delivered in an up-tempo way, despite the sparse instrumentation. Johnny 99 works well in the acoustic setting of this album, and boasts a solid set of lyrics to boot, making this one of the best tracks on Nebraska. Highway Patrolman is a song about a man who joined the police when his brother got drafted. When his brother comes back, the brother becomes a criminal, which contrasts with the narrator's role as a police officer. The narrator repeatedly states his belief that a man who turns his back on family is no good, and as such turns a blind eye to his brother's actions again and again. In the end, the narrator finds himself chasing his brother for murder, but pulls over and lets him get away at the border of the country. Highway Patrolman is a good character and story song in the classic Springsteen style. One that highlights the dichotomy of brothers and poses moral questions to the listener. State Trooper is a song sung by a man who is wanting to get away and is hoping that the state troopers won't pull him over. This is perhaps a song in which the acoustic instrumentation works the best. Springsteen's sinister, nervous strumming establishes a clear sense of dread. While State Trooper is short and feels almost like a footnote to side one, it is perhaps the most atmospheric song on Nebraska. Perhaps one of the most important songs to the album's overall feel. Now, before we go on to side 2 of the album, I want to remind you that if you like this style of album review, to please like this video by hitting the thumbs up button below, hit the subscribe button, and consider watching some of my other videos after this one is through, as these things help me out a lot. Used Calls is a song that is relatively novel to rock music. There are plenty of songs about how calls are used as status symbols, but almost all of those are from the winning side. This song is about a man who hates having to buy a used car, and also touches upon the hassle that is purchasing a car from opportunistic dealers. Used Cars is a song that cements Springsteen's status as being a rock star for the common man, touching on a process that is near universal for the poor, but mostly skipped over by the rich. Like the rest of the album, the song also acts as another character study, touching on feelings of economic envy and even rage that comes with being poor. Open All Night begins almost immediately with a counterpoint to the previous song. While the man in Used Cars hates having to buy a used junk car, the man in this one seems to be proud of all the work he has done on his. Ultimately, though, this first verse is not what Open All Night is about, but rather an incredibly well-executed transition between the two. The rest of the song is about a man racing home to get to his significant other at night, trying to get through as fast as possible. Open All Night does feel a bit out of place on Nebraska. Much like the rest of the album, it is a character song with an emphasis on driving, but the narrator here doesn't seem to be particularly a bad guy, or even morally great as far as I can tell. This is probably the most straightforward song of the album, and probably the least interesting song here. My Father's House is yet another Springsteen dad song. Unlike Independence Day from The River, in which Springsteen seemed resigned to his relationship with his father being over, this song touches more on how Springsteen wishes he could repair his relationship with his father but cannot. The part about Springsteen going to his father's house but finding it occupied by someone else almost feels like a thematic counterpart to Mansion on the Hill. In that song, the house always being the same on the outside is a source of constant comfort for the narrator, but in this song, Springsteen has actually lived in the house and is unsettled by how it has changed, despite outwardly seeming the same. We've had a lot of these Springsteen dad songs over the years, and My Father's House isn't one of the best. Despite this, it does explore a different facet of their relationship, and also works well with the overall songs on the album. Reason to Believe is another song with thoughtful lyrics, but this time with a more hopeful undercurrent. Springsteen describes how people keep finding a reason to go on in bad situations, even if they have to deceive themselves to do it. Most of Nebraska was a study of vice, regret, and envy. Reason to Believe effectively ends the album off on a lighter but still sufficiently thoughtful note. Alright, that's it for the song-by-song breakdowns. Now, before we go on to my final thoughts on the album, let's look at my final scores for the songs. I give Nebraska 6 out of 10. Atlantic City 9 out of 10. Mansion on the Hill 7 out of 10. Johnny 99 8 out of 10. Highway Patrolman 7 out of 10. State Trooper 7 out of 10. Used Cars 6 out of 10. Open All Night 6 out of 10. My Father's House 7 out of 10. Reason to Believe 8 out of 10. Springsteen mostly manages to nail the whole solo acoustic vibe here. This is before doing this was a fad, and all of these songs are original to the album, something that helps Nebraska succeed where later albums in this vein would fail. This album is probably Springsteen's most consistent album since Born to Run. The lyrics on Nebraska are all good, very polished and consistent throughout. There are no major dips in quality here like we have seen on some of Springsteen's previous releases. While I do like Nebraska's atmospheric, lone storyteller vibe, there's something about this album that just doesn't do it for me like Springsteen's previous efforts did. Songs like Atlantic City feel like they were written with the frantic energy of the river in mind. I've always preferred Springsteen on his hardest and fastest songs, and that's just simply not something Nebraska can give me. Overall, I prefer Springsteen's more produced albums with the E Street Band, but Nebraska is able to stand out as both a consistent and different-sounding album for the boss. So all in all, I'm giving Nebraska a 7 out of 10. It doesn't manage to hit as high of highs as his earlier works, but nevertheless, it's another solid album by Bruce Springsteen. Alright, and one last thing before we go is, we're going to look at the sleeve of the album. So, here it is. It's a nice kind of picture taken from, like, the dashboard of a car, looking out on, like, a road. It's black and white. You've got big red text, Bruce Springsteen, Nebraska. And on the back, you've got more big red text on black. This is almost sort of like David Bowie's Station to Station, except it's red on black as opposed to red on white, but really the text and the color is all very similar. We also have printed liner. We got lyrics on that side, red and black once again. And we got kind of an angry, mysterious looking picture of Bruce in what looks kind of like a fancy house, you know. So, I don't know why that is, but, you know, it's a thing. Maybe he's in the mansion on the hill or his father's house. So yeah, there we go. Bruce Springsteen, Nebraska. It's a pretty nice package, honestly, in terms of how it looks. So yeah. If you made this on the video, I would like to thank you for watching, and I really want to wish you all a great rest of your day, a very happy new year, and be sure to like and subscribe. That helps me out a lot. Once again, thank you. Happy New Year.